Yeah, so Jenny shared with me a project that an older group of kids did with retelling a story from The Paper Bag Princess, and they had coded the story and retold important events. And so I thought that at this point of the year, towards the end of the year, we had been working in the reader, The War of 1812. And this was the second time that we covered the War of 1812. We covered that in knowledge. So the kids had a lot of background knowledge and a lot of understanding about the content area. And as a culminating activity, really as an extension activity, they chose a chapter from the reader to retell using the Ozobot, and they picked out important events from the chapter and then added an illustration that went along with that part of the chapter, and then figured out which code would best represent that part in the chapter. So I chose the chapter, The End of the War. Those important events, those boxes on the left-hand side, don't have to be in a complete sentence. Just needs to be an idea, or that first, second, third, fourth, those main events that happen in the chapter. So I'm using my reader to help me so that I remember what happened in the chapter. And I have my little sketch idea. And then I thought that the code that would work best there would be the tornado, okay? Because they're coming to attack. We had a little finagling to do with the coloring in of the different sections, because that was tricky for them to make sure that they were coloring it not too hard, not too soft, making sure that they stayed in the lines. So that was a learning curve for us. But I'm looking forward to next year trying this earlier in the year. All kids had access to this activity. So they were able to see the picture of the code and then try to color it. So even if their robot didn't quite work or they colored too hard, I could still see what they were trying to do. Whereas when we go into block coding, there is a learning curve or a large gap between students that understand block coding and know how to maneuver that robot or their code versus kids that have a strong background with coding. And so this was a really level playing field for all students to be successful. I also think that because this was something that we had talked about for a long time, all kids had an entry point with retelling a chapter in the story. It really brought their learning to life and their understanding to life. And it was interesting to see which parts of the chapter that they picked out. So the burning of Washington, D.C., many of them talked about how the British soldiers ransacked the White House and smashed the plates, and they would choose the code of tornado, and their robot would be swirling and turning around. So it was just really neat to see them bring their understanding of the content to life.